Welcome back to the Blazer Victory Podcast. Your host, John Duncan, Darian Smith, and Jimmy Maria. How are you doing?
Yo, there you go, John. Welcome back, my brother.
Yeah,
I'm doing
Darian.
great.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
uh, this podcast is brought to you by Kahaba Brewing Company, uh, 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 high by favorite beer as the Oklahoma IBA.
That's right. There you go. Hey, shout out to Kahava, man.
Yes. Darian, I believe you were uh b- fill us in on the coaching staff.
Hey,
Oh
can I
yeah,
say
oh
this
yeah.
right before you start, Darian, though? Is literally we made it like 30 seconds of the podcast. I just got a ding in my phone announcement from the UAB football account about a
Uh,
signing. So we were
Oh,
talking, we were
what we got?
talking
What we got?
pre-show. We were talking pre-show, Darian. You already let us know about this. Samuel Riddy Jr. I feel like I'm reading off like with the first pick of the NFL draft. No, Samuel Riddy Jr. is the offensive tackle. I think he was converted from defensive tackle from ECU. So we'll have to remember to mention him when we talk about offensive line. Now, he may not be the only ding that we get during this episode, so that's just
I
what
like it,
season we're in.
especially when we're talking about O line, baby. I love it.
mhm.
Yeah, but I know,
Okay.
Darren, you want to talk a little bit about coaching staff because I think that where we have to start with all this is that we've got those behind the scenes orchestrating, what this success has been for the transfer portal. And so why don't we start at the top with Alex Mortensen? What's been your impression thus far of just kind of how everything's been playing out?
Yeah, I just wanted to, go position by position group. And the coaching staff, a lot of times people forget about how much of an impact coaching itself is.
Mhm.
Remember, Moore is the guy when we all of a sudden made the coaching switch in the state of which the team was in at that time. We were losing. We just got blew out by a very mid FAU team. And it's like, and I can't say. It's funny that I'm calling them mid when they put belt to
Yeah.
us, like right. Um,
We were together
and
for that room. We were doing the spin-a-rooney in John's living room because we're done second quarter.
it was bad. I mean, it was very bad. So this is the same team that did that to us, but they were not. They were a mid-tier AAC team. Is the truth, and they would tell you that. And they BTA'd us, and finally got Trent fired. When Alex came, we were facing a ranked Memphis team at home. He was the same coach that delivered that win for us. The game plan was different. I felt like we made smarter decisions, like the fourth down, third down decisions, the play call, sticking to the run, the creativity. It felt like we was building the identity. This is the same coach that delivered our first road win in 3 years, 2.5, 3 years, or something like that.
Hmm.
He did that in those is that 6 game opportunity span he had. I think it was six. You
Yep.
know,
Three. Mm-hmm.
well, as far as because I know we lost in at UConn, we lost North Texas, and we lost Rice.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So all that to say is he did for whatever reasons may consider, and also, I'll be remiss not to bring up the whole stabbing incident. And we had half a team for Tulsa, and we still won that game on the road. He is a different personality than Trent. I'm not ragging on Trent here. This is just the facts. Trent was more so, outgoing, charismatic, more louder, and Alex is way more just quiet, humble, hardworking. And I feel like his solution oriented mindset has taken over, has it's like a personality trait of the staff. You hired Todd Grantham. I heard Todd is the same way, and I think it's a big deal. Jimmy take over. I got a work call real quick.
Yeah, man. Yeah, why don't we transition to Todd Grantham because, he came in and he's taken the lead over a UAB defense that, let's be, honest, has not been very good, for the last three seasons on the field, production wise. And at the end of the day, um, I find it interesting that when they announced Todd Grantham, he's a polarizing figure, because he's been in the SEC most of his career. And so when you're the defensive coordinator in that type of position for these fiery fan bases, people are going to have a lot of opinions about you. And I remember I'd never heard of Todd Grantham. I don't watch a ton of SEC football. But when I started doing research and you start looking at, the UAB football account had thrown out a lot of his accolades. He's had a lot of success, where he's been. But again, it seemed like a lot of people dropping in the comments were fans of those previous schools didn't have the greatest of things to say about him. But at the end of the day, it's not about what people say about you, it's about what you do. And, we have just a small sample size here of what Todd Grantham has been able to accomplish in the transfer portal. I know they've thrown out some funny graphics, if you will, of what was he like the portal plug, from Lino or whatever. But we've been able to see what Todd Grantham has been able to do with the resources allotted to him. And I'll speak for myself. Just first and foremost, he's exceeded those expectations, any expectations I would have had as it relates to completely reloading on the defensive side of the ball. So no evidence greater than this past weekend. I guess it was on Sunday where we had like six or seven signings that I'm sure we'll talk about on the front seven, some of which we were anticipating, some of which we knew that had visited, but some of which were completely out of left field, and a lot of guys that had produced at the G6 level at prior stops, some of which had been, at P2 schools when they started their careers. So a lot of length, a lot of size, a lot of athleticism and versatility to add to that Todd Grantham defense. So I think just to speak on Todd Grantham, and plus he's been, just like a football guy, like a good dude, like on X, like he's getting people excited with his just unconventional stuff. Like we get a little tired of like, okay, we love the fire, or I should say the blazer emojis, or and then the blazer gifts and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I just love like the hell yeah, or the Michelob Ultra, like after like a long day. It reminded me of Andy Kennedy when he had first came to UAB, and he would post like those late night images of him smoking a cigar or something with a, with a whiskey or something at the end of the day. But Todd Grantham has exceeded all expectations for me personally as it relates to what he can do in the transfer portal.
How is Todd able to get these guys?
Yeah, well, that's hopefully a question that we're going to be able to ask Todd, by bringing him on to Coach Grantham onto a future episode. I've personally reached out and extended an invitation, so don't know if he's going to be ever listening to our podcast, but I've let him know who we are and I've invited him on the podcast. So if any of you are all talking to him, fan wise, encourage him to jump on because I think we'd all like to know that.
Mhm.
But I will say that I think Darian hinted on this a little bit earlier. I think some of it's a mentality thing, so I think it's not, um, let me focus on what I can't control. Let me focus on what I can control. And I would envision, and this is all assumption because I don't know, but what I would envision is that you've got someone of the pedigree of Coach Grantham. Here's where I've been. Here's all the people that I've coached, and not just people that I've been around. Remember that graphic a few years ago, like I've coached and or been around? Like these are guys that like Coach Grantham has coached as a coordinator and FBS that are in the league, and these are the statistics, and these are the championships that he was part of, and all that good stuff. So I think the pedigree certainly helps, but I would envision that more money was allocated to the defensive side of the ball, which is something that previous Coach Dilfer had talked about that he wished he would have done, which was to allocate more resources to the defensive side of the ball. So I would envision that as part of it as well. And then you think about stuff like, all right, well, we had all these exits, so here's an opportunity. I still value, or I still view UAB being in the American Conference with the facilities that they have for football, with the TV opportunities and the direct access to the college football playoff. and not to mention the education, that is secondary these days, but the education that you can get at UAB. And plus, you're seeing UAB, like many other G6 schools, launching folks from UAB into a power conference. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why UAB is still, a great institution, a place to play for. And so I think that would be part of the selling pitch by Coach Grantham. Darren, we were just wrapping up. I don't know if you were able to hear that, but we kind of transitioned from Mort to Coach Grantham, and Darren, or excuse me, John had asked how do we thought, we were able to get, or Coach Grantham was able to get those guys, and I was just giving him some of my viewpoints on that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Like I'm on call, and if I'm on call covering the whole hospital, and sometimes the stuff that you deal with is kind of like, dude, come on, are you serious? So yeah, so I might have to take a couple of breaks while we're doing this because sometimes getting grown men to do their job is kind of hard to do. But but yeah, so it sounds like you got Coach Grantham all. I don't even have to go back over that. Do you guys want to start with the quarterbacks? The quarterback room?
Yeah, let's
Uh,
go ahead and just talk positional groups unless you got something, John.
what Alex said is he's taking over offensive coordinator.
Later. So
Hmm.
yeah, and I think that's kind of a savvy way to save money too.
Hmm.
And I know I don't want to think about it, but I guess with bringing Coach Brigham back, right, as a assistant,
Hmm.
and they haven't as assistant head coach, they haven't put a. I realized they didn't put like a position coach to his name.
Yeah.
And I do think that his role is a little above just the running back coach. I think he's going to be helping with the offensive scheme.
Hmm.
I think he's going to be involved in the running back room, but I did realize that we kept Coach Danny Mitchell as the running back coach. So, with that being said, and then all they have labeled Coach Brigham as is assistant head coach. I think he's there to when Coach Mort has used words like offensive organization, just help. He's going to call plays, but it's hard to be the head coach and the full OC. You're going to need some kind of medium there to kind of help. And I honestly think they brought Coach Brigham back into that role. That's me reading in between the lines because you do need help with your offensive organization and in your game plan and your in-game adjustments. And I think Coach Brigham is there to be a liaison. That's a good point you brought up right there, John. What you think, Jimmy?
About staff, or you want to go into quarterbacks? I
We
think
can you can put a
just
bow
quick
on the
note on
staff and
that.
we can go on the quarterbacks.
Yeah, just quick note on that. I mean, I would agree with Darian. I mean, at the end of the day, Coach Mort's been calling plays, to the degree of which I don't know, but he's been involved with, coordinate the offense obviously for 3 years. And so he's got, his understanding of how he wants things done. So I would envision that, it's a little bit of like he knows how he wants. I don't have any questions about what Coach Mort wants to do in the offense at this point. You know what I'm saying? So I haven't really thought too much about it, but from a money saving standpoint, that would make sense. It's redistributing dollars, So there's going to be talks, and we probably won't get into it today about additional investments. Darian's done a many good conversation on that lately, but there's got to be some element of like, all right, well, what money do we have, and how are we going to distribute it right? What new money do we have, and how are we going to distribute that? And what's maybe some money that we anticipate to get via some other means. Again, we're probably not going to touch base on too much money today. If we do, great. But, as it relates to the offense, I don't think a guy like Henley Brigham would come back if there wasn't a good vision of how that room's going to be managed. Not just room, but I'm talking about the whole offense. So I look at like what's happening versus kind of like, assuming too much. So like I just see things happening that gives me peace of mind. We'll talk about this today. I like how they've kind of distributed in my mind how they're distributing like revenue sharing across like position groups. Like I like where they appear to me focusing on giving more money to defense. I don't know how you wouldn't based on some of the guys we're going to talk about today, but yeah, just to kind of end the discussion like on the offensive staff changes. Like I feel great about Brigham coming back. He wouldn't come back if it wasn't a vision. I feel great about Coach Moore leading that room. Is it unconventional not to have an offensive coordinator? Yeah, I know that Bryant Vincent did the same thing at Louisiana Monroe. That's another program that people on the outside would say it's because they don't have money. But at the end of the day, I'll say this and I'll shut up, is I don't know how you can look at the guys we're about to talk about and say UAB doesn't have money. So it's like I don't need to hear a lot of that. You know what I'm saying? So let's go to quarterbacks, Darren. Where do you want to start with that group?
Um,
Uh, Quarterback.
yeah. Well, I mean, we can start with the head of the snake. You got Ryder Burton. Of course, he's going to come back as the clear QB1,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and then behind him, we saw Nate Rogers log a couple of snaps, particularly in that Wildcat. We saw Adrian Posse has been with the quarterback group. He came from Florida out of high school. He's been with this. This is going to be his third year, maybe.
Yep, he's going into his third year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then after that, do you have that list right in front of you? I know it's like Brogdon McNabb and Van Duggar.
Yep,
Could you?
you've named him. Yeah, I've got just mainly scholarship guys on this note that I can reference for today. But yeah, I don't know if it's Brogan or Brogan, whomever, we'll have to get that right, moving forward. But he's a guy that signed in December, and he had some good G6 offers as well as an offer from reportedly from Boston College and Syracuse and UNLV. So I had some good offers there. I heard some, or I'd seen some stuff about him maybe potentially playing other positions than just quarterback. So I don't know if that's kind of like a work in progress. I think as you think about the quarterback room in particular, well, let me say this before I say that, is you mentioned Ryder. Ryder's doing and contributing a lot more than just playing quarterback. Right there, and
Yes.
you've heard some things about just Ryder and his contribution from recruiting. I don't know if you wanted to touch on that at all.
Yeah, I've heard that Ryder has been recruiting like a madman,
Mhm.
and I heard that he's been just a great leader. And I think that's important going into this season. I think, and the biggest thing about that, because quarterback is the most important position. The most important thing about this whole setup is there was some may have looked at Trent's relationship with Kitna and everything that went on with Zeno, and how Zeno was kind of ousted from the starting position, and they looked at Kitna's dad and Trent's the connections there. They think it was some favoritism, right? We all know some of the troubles that we don't have. I don't want to go over that, but it was some things going on at Florida, at University of Florida, where Kitna was at. It was some things that he got in trouble for, right or wrong. I think it was just a mix up there, and a lot of people didn't want to touch him. Trent not only touched him but started. Trent not only took him but started him. And we ousted the guy that was the starter from a pretty successful offense he had Trent's first year. So it was kind of surprising to see that kind of regime change.
Hmm.
Um, and then Kitna had some up and down performances. And then so when Ryder came in, when Kitna got hurt, Trent got fired. Ryder came in. We instantly win against Memphis. It was kind of like, this is our guy, because we haven't done anything like that this whole time. Well, it still was a little bit of, I think it was some loyalty. It was like, hey, we're gonna do right by Kitna while he's here. He's a senior. It was kind of like this musical chairs at quarterback. I don't think it was beneficial for either one of the guys. I'm glad to be leaving that situation behind in 2025. That we don't have to play musical chairs. We don't have to guess, no looking over shoulders. I believe the guy that's going to be at the helm, which is Ryder Burton, rightfully kind of outright won the job on merit. Like, and I'm not saying that Kitna didn't. What I'm saying is it was a lot of smoke and stuff in the air, and a lot of, oh, this did he earn it? Yo, man, it's just, we're leaving that situation behind. That is a win. That is a huge win, and we saw how it benefited when we didn't have to do that in the game. So I'm comfortable. I know a lot of other people. I can understand what we would want another veteran quarterback to add to be added to this room. I'm actually comfortable. I know quarterbacks cost. You know, I'm actually comfortable with this room because Nate Rogers has logged snaps. He has played in the game. Posse has been here. This is going to be third year. If something happened to Ryder or one of them got to play at this point, I'm like, these guys been here. If we can't trust them now, they don't need to be on the squad. I'm gonna be real. That's how I feel. I'm like, man, we got these guys. They've been in his system. They've been with Mort. I would rather just play them and save money on this other side because Posse was a pretty big get coming out of high school too.
Oh yeah.
But I do understand people's sentiment about wanting another quarterback. Kind of, I just don't want to spend that money on another quarterback. Knowing that quarterback is the highest ticket because so just say you go get a quarterback just because he's a vet. You trying to get somebody at a low number or something? I ain't trying to get a. That mean that he may suck. What's the point in having him? Nah, I'm cool on that. Again, that's just me. I know a lot of people. I think I'm in the minority, honestly. So I'm cool with the quarterback room. I believe in Ryder and I believe in Nate Rogers. I think at least with Nate Rogers, if he has to start a couple of games, we'll have an identity. He can move. He can move on the run. We got good running backs. I think, and he can throw somewhat. And I like Posse. I like his potential. So shoot, I like the freshman. He had good offers. Throw him in there. If Ryder go down, we're gonna be mostly running, y'all. And
Yeah.
I think we're gonna be a majority running team anyway, based on how this team is set up. But that's how I feel about the quarterback room.
Hey, you touch base on talking about the run game. Why don't we transition to running back? Keep it on the offensive side of the ball. I think as you look across some of these offensive pickups in the transfer portal, some of the most flashy ones came for this position group for different reasons. So I know I'd love to get Darian's thoughts, just kind of as you talk about the transition from what was a very good senior led running back room for 2025. Some great guys in that room, Javon Jackson and Isaiah Jacobs, and why am I going to forget the third guy off the top of my head as I'm talking? Who else is in our running back room that we lost?
Solomon Bibi.
Thank you, Solomon Beebe to Virginia. So you had a really good room in 2025, and so that was going to be an important group to replace and replenish. And UAB made a couple of splashes. UAB was able to start off that quest with picking up a familiar name. We talked about Brigham from Louisiana Monroe, and he was able to bring somebody from Louisiana Monroe with him, which is Braylon Bam McReynolds, who is a senior himself, who spent I guess it's 4 seasons across South Alabama for 3 and Louisiana Monroe for 1. He's a guy that started 9 games for Louisiana Monroe, rushed for over 600 yards, had 3 scores, also had 16 receptions and a touchdown in 12 games played, and had many stats over 3 years at South Alabama. Uh, is it Javen or Simpkins from Coastal Carolina? Another back that's played for several years. He was a guy that was highly recruited, like a 4-star guy coming out of high school. He's one of the highest rated players for Coastal Carolina in their program history. He came out of high school with offers from the SEC and other Power Two schools. Had a good career. We can dive more into him there in a moment. And then speaking of the SEC, UAB made quite the splash and getting a guy in from the University of Georgia, uh, who had scored, what was it, a touchdown in the SEC championship game.
Yeah.
So, it's someone that battled injuries, but it's like, again, UAB is going to add to their running back room, or running back. And this wasn't like, oh, it was 49 to nothing. So they handed off to somebody, at the end of the game. This was someone who scored the first touchdown of the game, in the
Yeah.
SEC championship game. So, Darian, I can give more stats and more background on these particular players, and we've got more on the way. So we believe we did add a freshman running back in December from the state of Alabama. And we believe that we are, whether it be today or in the very near future, going to hear of another freshman running back addition that just wait till you see what his high school stats look like. I've got those prepared for you. I've already got the post ready to drop on X as soon as UAB football makes it official. But Darren, what are just your thoughts on the running back room as a whole?
Yeah, I love our it's I love the running back room, man. Especially when we picked up Simpkins from Coastal. All of these guys. First of all, I love that all of these guys are coming from schools where they actually produced, where like the leading rushers or co-leading rushers, or with in the case of not McReynolds, Robinson. In the case of from Georgia, of course he wasn't that guy. I mean, we wouldn't be getting a leading rusher from Georgia. Let's be serious. But the guy may be RB1 for us. He's a freaking tank. If I don't know if you saw him, and he has some agility.
6'1",
So
235.
yes, with some breakaway speed and some agility, and I think he's going to be getting an opportunity. It's going to be great, so I think about what left out, right? I love Javon Jackson. I think Javon Jackson probably was our most successful portal pickup.
Hmm.
If when I think about it, Javon Jackson was a constant pro, just a dependable. I thought he was out again. He was our best portal pickup, and I think that he was available in the spring all the way to the end of the season. He didn't really face injury problems. He had a good yards per carry average. Like Javon was just the guy for us. Um, I think that we were able to replace his production and match what he can bring with three running backs. Like I think all three of the running backs that we got were Javon Jackson, like put it that way, in their own way. They do it in different ways. Um, so when I think about Isaiah Jacobs, I don't think Isaiah Jacobs is one of the leaders of the team. I don't think he had never really got right. I remember the first year that he was here, and it took him a while to build up. But then you start seeing the special flashes from him, and I'm like, oh, we got our guy. This guy's going to be special. And then he got hurt. He was out for the rest of the season. I don't think he never was really right from that. I'm sorry, I got to deal with. Hold on, I got to pause one more time. Work call again. I'm sorry about that, guys.
It's really Coach Mortensen. He's lying. He's just getting recruiting updates as we're doing this right now. No, but I mean, who is he just talking about? Jacobs. Um, you know, yeah. As you look at this room, I guess we can go in a bunch of different directions. I mean, the caliber of guys that they brought up, or the caliber of guys that they brought in, I just think can't be overlooked. Again, we talked about Robinson, but just to kind of give you all some added context there. Yeah, I know he wasn't the leading rusher for Georgia in 2025, but when you go back to 2023, he was a true freshman in Georgia, and he had 24 carries for 196 yards and two scores in 10 games played as a true freshman at the University of Georgia. That was a few years ago. In 2024, he dealt with injuries all year. I think it was like turf toe. He broke his ankle, so only played. And what was it? I think it was only 2 games. So he took a medical red shirt, that year. And so he's just a guy that's dealt with a lot of injuries. But he's coming in. He's bringing his brother along with him, which is exciting just to have both of them in that particular room. I'm guessing his brother will probably be like a PWO or a walk-on, as it relates to this group. But that's great for that transition. Um, Braylon McReynolds, Bam. Again, we talked about him. He started off hot at South Alabama, and again, he's done things. He's versatile. He can run between the tackles and he can catch the ball. And create damage in open space. So he can do a lot of different things. Listed at 5'7", 195, with 1 year remaining. And Simpkins, you want to talk about just burst, and you want to talk about speed. Again, I talked about this on the Patreon episode about getting guys from G6, and our success, um, and there's a lot of different reasons for that I believe that I like to target guys from G6 programs because I think there's not this element of coming down. I'm coming down from the University of Georgia to UAB. I'm playing in front of, in SEC championship games and, that type of environment. Here's what I had. And I'm not saying that's the case with him, but I'm saying just human nature. You know what I'm saying? But someone's coming from a similar environment, a similar situation, a similar conference, similar competition. So it's more easy for me as a common fan to visualize that success here at UAB. But again, Simpkins at Coastal Carolina this year, 125 carries, 591 yards, two scores, 17 catches for 74 yards in 13 games played. Um, and so, really excited about that room. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe Darian knows with a guy like Marquise Collins, who was injured. I think they said he played in one game in 2025. He was a transfer from Duke. I don't remember that, but that's what the roster says. He's dealt with injuries his whole career. I don't know what the status of him is. And Hudson Higgins, I don't know if I named him earlier, but he's the guy that UAB signed. I think it's from Mars Hill, Alabama. 5'10", 180. He did really well in high school and had offers from Air Force, Arkansas State, Liberty, Troy, Tulane, and UAB, of course. So really have a lot of versatility in that room, a lot of options in that room. We didn't even mention a guy like Amari Brundridge, who's a big, UAB supporter, a local guy. I think he's from Parker High School that, we're all hoping for him to have success as well. But there's no shortage of opportunities, or I should say options in that running back room.
Yeah, yeah, guys, my bad, my bad. It's just hotline bling. You got to do what you got to do. You talked about Simpkins already, right? I
Yeah,
heard some of it. I think he's gonna be replacing that Solomon BB role
yeah.
with these. You already kind of. Now, what I like about it most, the difference is like Solomon was very explosive. You get the ball to him, it's a chance that it could go all the way. The only thing that I feel like Solomon has to develop, and I hopefully going to such a pro school like UVA. UVA is like Stanford of the East. They are very, it is boom boom. They expect you to be a pro. Hopefully he gets to that better feel for the vision. The thing that that set him up and Javon Jackson apart was Javon Jackson was going to find the hole. It was not going to be like loss of yardage. It wasn't going to be a negative play. It was going to do what it's supposed to do, right? Um, Solomon is a home run hitter. And sometimes when you're a home run hitter, you swing for home runs. Sometimes you need to get on base, just get on base. And I
Mhm.
think he'll develop that. I think that's what Lee had. Side note, I know y'all would like this information. I heard that if Lee Beebe, who's at the University of Indiana, and they're getting ready to play for the national championship later on, I heard that if he didn't tear his ACL, that it was a good chance he was going to be RB1.
Hmm.
Mm.
He
They
was playing
said
good. Yeah,
they said he was they love him at
yeah,
Indiana.
yeah.
That just warmed my heart. Shout out to the BB brothers. Shout out to Lee. But
Are there any more? Are there any more that we could potentially get at UAB?
yeah, we need
We'll
him.
take a cousin. I don't care. This anybody with the BB connection, please.
It might not have the last name BB, but it could be like Bebe. You know,
Any, yeah, but yeah, anybody.
but I think Simpkins, he's been at Coastal for a while. He's developed. He had a breakout year. I think that I think that he's going to be the perfect scat back, change of pace back to complement these two hammer like type thunder running backs that we have.
Beautiful. Why don't we keep things tracking on the offense here? Let's talk about a position group that has some names coming back that, I think Blazer fans will remember, but a lot of additions to this room as well. Let's talk about the receiving group, Darian. And I think right now where we sit at receivers, we've got 9 on scholarship. So we'll focus on that position group right now. There are some names here that Blazer fans will recall. As an example, we could talk about a guy like Jalen Elder, who played in 6 games for UAB later in the season, was coming on and getting more snaps and opportunities. You've got a guy like, let's see here, Caleb Brown, who had 17 grabs for 255 yards and two scores. He started 3 games. He was a former Ohio State and Iowa receiver. He had a big play in the Tennessee game against the Vols. So you've got some familiar names, but beyond that, you've got a couple guys that might have redshirted last year, Darian, and then you've got additions from Oklahoma, from Wake Forest, from Memphis, who also had played at Purdue and started his career out at Georgia, that being CJ Smith. You've got a freshman, you've got a guy who coming in from Texas State, who made waves at Southern Miss for 3 years as a kickoff returner and a punt returner and a leading them in receiving yards. So you've got kind of like maybe something you might want to talk a little bit about, Darian, is some people might be saying, okay, well, let's look at the maybe like the size and the length of like the receivers we've been picking up and like how does that fit into style of play and desire there. But where do you want to go with this receiving room that's got plenty of guys that have that can make plays?
Um, it's a whole different group. I think the first thing we need to do is like kind of really pay homage because I feel like if it's any group that we probably need to just say, oh, okay, did we take a step back? It's going to be the receiver group, right? And I do that out of respect for Iverson Hooks, BJ Hawkins, right, and what he brought, and the production that Corey Miller and when he was playing, the production, and you can say what you want about him being suspended, whatever the reasons, whatever. But he was productive when he was playing. He was a hell of a talent, right?
Yeah.
So just those three receivers right there, it was kind of like, losing out. I mean, if Milliner didn't have all of the problems that he was having, just the problems he was having, I guess, mentally, let's just say it that way, or disciplinary problems that he was having, we all know he would be a P4. He was like he could probably be at LSU with Lane Kiffin right now if he didn't have all of those problems. So we lose. I'm sorry, I was kind of trying to keep up with the recruits too. I saw the Hudson Reed, the Spain part
Oh yeah.
guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was looking at something. I was like, oh man, okay.
Me
Like,
too. Yeah. Before we start recording, I was like, oh man, Darian's gonna like this one.
yeah, bring up those kind of. Do you saw those offers that he had?
Yeah, well, I only got so far down before we started hitting record, but I saw like a Mississippi State like official, and then seen what was it, Troy, but I hadn't got down any further. But oh, your references somebody put on there. I had just skimmed over it. Somebody had put on there, if I'm able to find it quick, all the schools I guess that he apparently turned down for us. I'll have to find it. But you can stick with the receivers though. Did we lose Darren?
Yes. Yes, Cooks to Oregon.
Yeah, what a crazy story that was. And it couldn't
Mm,
happen to a better person, someone that, switched coaching staffs. He was here in the previous regime and then stuck around, with the vision that what Coach Dilfer and the staff had for him. And, he dealt with injuries a lot throughout his career, but to have the season that he did and have the performance that he did against Memphis going back to that game, he's
mm,
someone that I think that UAB fans are just genuinely happy about. And, he's been here for quite some time. He's not the modern day 1 year rental and then out the next year at the first opportunity. He probably could have left, the when Dilfer had first came in for that staff transition, but for him to stick around and to do what he did was just really cool. And I think that I mentioned it earlier about the measurables of some of the receivers that we're bringing in is I think that I think there's clear evidence that UAB has been successful with the 5'10", 5'9" receiver, type of guy. And Iverson Hooks was the same. And so I know like it would be great for UAB to go out and get a 6'3", 6'4" guy, but that's a pretty premium position, as you will have noticed. UAB had a guy, was it 6'2" or probably 6'2", Xavier Daisy. He had whatever it was. I don't even know if it was 15 catches, 18 catches on the year, and he gets to go to Kentucky, you know?
mm-hmm.
So, anyone that's got that type of size these days is being added, to P4 rosters. So, yes, there are guys that we could get with some more length and stuff, and maybe we still will. But I think that there's been clear evidence that the type of receiver, whether, inside or a guy that can play multiple positions. But height's not going to slow these guys down. When they get people in space and get the ball in their hands, this UAB offense has shown like the ability to get the ball out quick. We always heard what the extension of the run game, those types of plays, so I'm not too concerned about that. But of course, if we're able to add, I think right now I said it earlier, at like 9 scholarship guys at receiver. If we were to add one more, it would be good to get like a 6'2", 6'3" guy.
It's only 9 scholarship guys at receiver. I'm so
Yep.
sorry, y'all. I haven't had a calls in hours, and then I get on here and I'm getting blown up. I got another call. I'm
Wick
like, dude,
is
oh
apologizing.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's man. But I heard Jimmy talking about it, about like having the guys that you can get the ball in space and what's worked, especially under Mort. You look at Iverson Hooks. I don't think Milliner was kind of tall, but he wasn't the biggest guy.
Yeah.
You know, you look at these Cam Shanks. You look at these BJ Hawkins. You look at these type of receivers. It's these quick, twitchy, get the ball to him in space, create separation, and give it to him. It's a timing type of offense. It's not a jump ball type of deal. And we don't really do that, honestly. We scheme up guys to be open, and they just have to have the quickness and the ability to get open. So I do understand the logic of saying, you know what, targeting those guys, those Jeremiah Smith type of guys, those big, fast, super athletic, that's gonna cost you $750,000.
Mhm.
And that's gonna be those are people. They're all the top P4 guys. Elijah Surratt's, and we're not going to get that type of archetype. But
Did
what
you hear
we
me say
can,
with Xavier Dacey as a perfect example, Darren? He's a guy that, produced, but he was like at what, 6'2", maybe it's whatever it was. And like he had like 18, grabs. I'm going off the top of my head. I don't remember what it was. But I remember when he got
yeah,
the Kentucky offer, when he left in the middle of the night and then next day he was at Kentucky. I was like, wait a second. And then there was the Josh Jackson, who was a similar, measurables, whatever it was, 6'1", 6'2", that UAB had signed. And he didn't even play as a freshman, goes to McNeese State, has similar production, and he's at LSU. So again, like that premium of the guys that have height are being added. Even guys like Daisy and Jackson are being added as depth pieces at these P2 schools.
yeah. So that's perfect examples. They're just looking at film of those guys and saying they have the potential.
Hmm.
They're young enough, and they have potential. We can mold them. Let's just take a shot on them. We can give them. They'll probably come here for $60,000 or so.
Hmm.
So we can give them good money still from their point of view, and we maybe can develop a guy. We got a guy on the bench,
Yeah.
like that's what's happening with those type of guys. So I do kind of like the philosophy switch up. It's kind of like, you know what, we can take a production, quick twitch type of guy. Those guys still get stolen, but at least we get them for a year or two. And
Yeah.
now at least we can get some liquidated damages off of them if they do get bought out, right? So I'm cool with that. Looking at CJ Smith from Memphis, I know he was a well traveled. He was a former 4-star coming out of high school, but he's bigger. He's like 6 foot, 6'1" up in that area. You
They
look
got him
at him,
listed. Memphis had him listed at 6'2", 194.
yeah, he's about 6 foot, 6'1".
Mm.
Last one I saw, he was about 200 pounds. A little over 200. He's a bigger guy,
Yeah.
and just looking at what he can bring, I don't think everything translated over for whatever reason, but looking at what he can bring, and just looking at his social media, and he was talking about his journey and how hard it's been and how hungry he is. I'm excited. Maybe this guy can be like our bigger receiver because he's not small. And then looking at like his some of his lifting and some of his like looking at his body sculpture, I'm like, oh, okay, this guy's not, it's kind of a machine, probably
Yeah.
stronger than me, right?
No, no
But
way.
but but looking at like the Ty Mims, the EJ Reeds, along with the Jalen Elders and the Caleb Browns, I think we're gonna be, if we can forge this identity, because missing Hooks and missing Hawkins. Hawkins to me started becoming a dude. He started like, you can get the ball in his hands, and he started becoming one of those guys, right? Um, Milliner was a dude. Let's just be real. No matter if you didn't like the stuff that he had going on disciplinary wise or not, he was a dude. That's not easy to replace. What I do love is we don't have to deal with the spring portal anymore. Ryder gets a chance to go through spring with these guys, develop an identity, develop that connection, and we don't have to worry about losing them. We don't have to hold on to our pearls. When I forgot when we lost Shanks. I don't think it was in the spring, was it?
Be right back.
Gotcha.
Well, I think the perfect example of what you're talking about is the guy that had transferred into UAB. I think it was for Trent's second year from what was it, Chattanooga? It was some smaller school, and I'm going to forget his name, so I need to
I
go
forgot
back in
his
my memory.
name, but I know who you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah, we had a guy come in and he came in January and then it was like whatever it was, April, May, he was already gone. He went to Cincinnati, had a pretty good year, with them, but he was like projected to be one of, if not our top receiver. I think he had 1,000 years at the FCS school prior to us, and he was very
1,000
dynamic.
years.
1,000 yards. It feels like it's been 1,000 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways. But you mentioned it just to maybe kind of just to make sure we say everyone's names here real quick. Elder, we talked about CJ Smith. We just talked about KJ Daniels, 5'9", 165, coming from Oklahoma. He was a big time, recruit there. Didn't get any playing time his first 2 years there. EJ Reed, 5'8", 178, same situation, was at Wake Forest. He's someone that I've been hearing the staff's excited about. You got a guy like Carson Gill, who I think, we had, if memory serves me right, we had heard about him making some plays in practice or in
Yep.
scrimmages. So I think he was from Saraland High School. I don't have that in front of me, but I'm pretty sure he was Alabama guy who had a lot of offers. But he's smaller too, for in terms of college football. He's 5'7", 160. We signed a guy in December, Jaden Skelton, 5'10", 160. You mentioned Caleb Brown and Tom Mims. Just to kind of close on him, again, he's 5'9", 175. He didn't play or he didn't do much of anything at Texas State after 3 years at Southern Miss. But when he was there, he was like their leading receiver. I know those weren't great Southern Miss teams when he was there, but 24 receptions, 366, two scores, 39 receptions, 445 yards, and two scores, and 12 starts. 33 receptions, 383, and a score, and 11 starts. And he was doing that receiving wise in addition to being like a primary kick returner and a punt returner too. So that speaks to his, dynamic abilities as well. Um, all right. You want to talk about, everybody wants to hear you talk about O-line. I don't know if we want to save that for last. You want to talk about tight ends quick and then go to offensive line because I can't wait to hear about your thoughts on O-line. What do you want to do?
Yeah. We can go ahead to tight ends. There's not really much to talk about at tight ends. I don't think we're gonna be. I mean, we returned Antonio Ferguson,
Yeah.
who played for us, who was productive. He was like our second most productive tight end last year. You know, I thought I thought that Elijah Lag had really started to come on, towards the end of the season. He just provided that consistency. So I do think that's something you're gonna have to replace. JC Sylvie, another tight end that's hitting out. I think he was a guy that had really grown and started to grow into himself. I can't remember who he was playing. He had one good highlight catch this year. I can't remember the game on the sideline. He was able to keep his feet in. I don't know if they counted it, but I can just tell like the growth. I know he had battled injuries and everything throughout his career. Antonio Ferguson was pretty consistent. And I know we had Gabriel
Klein.
Klein. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He got redshirted out of high school. He was kind of smaller, but he has some receiving chops to him. I wonder if he's going to be able to showcase his dynamic ability during the spring. I'm gonna kind of keep a tab on that. I remember watching his highlights when he came out of high school and seeing that he needed to bulk up. Did this redshirt year? Did he bulk up? Will he be able to maintain his speed and his dynamic play? He might work his way into the rotation because I don't. When I look at this roster and look at who we bring in, I think Scott Isaacs from Florida, Pearson, the other tight end, he is from where?
Toledo.
From Toledo. I don't think those guys are like the prototypical type of receiving tight ends. I think those guys are more big bodies. They're gonna put you on your back type of tight ends, and which I like because we're gonna have a good running game, and we'll talk about online more. But I do feel like we do need a dash of athleticism, a dash of he's like the UAB tight ends, golden boys that we all look up to. Well, there's two of them, and I'm pretty sure y'all know the two. y'all can say the names for me. You know, we know got Hayden Pittman and we got Derek Prince. Those years of them at tight end when they were running around doing everything was like amazing. I would love that again. I feel like it'll be hard to get that in this day and age because somebody, some people are Ole Miss is going to be like, oh, let me get that from you. Thank you, sir, for
Remember we had
developing.
Jack Nickel come to UAB for like Trent's second year, and then he like, I mean, he played, I think, primarily, extra tight end or blocking or whatever it was, but I don't remember him doing too much.
The glass eater.
Yeah, he was a glass eater, and he goes to Miami. I mean, that's just
How
like a good
about
example.
the tight end that he went somewhere? It was, I can't think of his name, but he ended up being like a big piece for Alabama.
Oh, Brody Dalton.
Yeah,
Was that
Brody
what it was?
Dowden.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He
Yeah.
didn't even really full time play for us. And he transferred and went to
To
another
Troy.
school
He
to
went to Troy.
Troy, started some, it just, it wasn't nothing special. And then he was like a piece of Alabama rotation. Like, seriously, I don't know how evaluations go anymore, but I
Yeah.
mean, and I'm not saying nothing bad about Brody. Brody got a bag, and Brody was able to get playing time at one of the most prestigious football colleges around. Again, I don't know if we'll be able to have a Hayden Pittman, Gary Prince. If they played now, they had a year like they did back in what 2018, 2019 or something like that. They had one of those years. They would be getting a bag. They will be at Georgia and they will be at whatever school Ohio State. They wouldn't be at UAB. So that's just how it go. We'll get our chain too. So
Well, I did want to say with I am a little intrigued by the Toledo tight end transfer, Person with two S's, Person. Si- 6'6".
first,
We're early into this thing. We got to get all the the guides with the pronunciations and people to tell us how to pronounce folks' names. But Sean in particular, I know he didn't play at Toledo this past year, but at Citrus Community College. Um, what's their mascot? I don't know. But I saw like in the bio at Toledo that he led Citrus with 22 catches for 364 and six touchdowns. So I mean, like that is appealing. So I haven't seen film or don't know if film exists on him, but that's appealing that he was putting up those statistics for Citrix. I said Citrix, Citrus Community College. So maybe he can do a little bit of something. I think Scott Isaacs, I don't know
okay.
this to be true or not, but he's a big guy. He's 6'5", 250. I think he was a PWO, a preferred walk-on at Florida. I don't know. I know he started out as a walk-on there, and I think he dealt with injuries at the latter end of his career, but was more like a special teams guy, for Florida. But
Hey,
anyways, yeah, to your point, Darian, it wouldn't be so bad. Like if it were to fall in our lap, like one more tight end, in this cycle. I think
yeah,
we're running out of room, but if the right opportunity comes along, great. If not, I think Antonio Ferguson, if healthy, and now he knows the system, uh, that's something big, by the way, is like he was at ECU, at FIU, at UAB, three schools, 3 different years, 3 different systems. Now he has an opportunity to be healthy and to go into his second year for the first time in his career at a school
good
under the
point.
same offense. So I think that he can do, I think he's versatile enough to where he can do both for you. And I think he can definitely, catch the ball. So I think he's a good lead guy for that room. And I think now it's up to these three other guys to see how else is it going to shake out, during spring ball. Um,
Yeah.
but I think what we've all been waiting for, and we saved the best for last. For anyone that's been, and if you take a phone call during this, I am not going to embarrass myself talking about offensive line. I do that. I
Man,
do enough
it's
of that. So I'll just read
yeah.
off some stuff. But we are so pumped, and we got 30 seconds into this episode. We got a commitment, a signing, I should say, for offensive line. Right now, I think that puts us, Darian, at 13 offensive linemen on scholarship. I had us at 18 last year. We were talking before this signing, on the show of Samuel Riddy that maybe we'd like to add two or three more. Where there's one, but where do you want to start with this offensive line room? I may be mad at you if you don't start with Adam Lepkowski.
So what I've heard about A Train, I know people are like, oh, the eligibility concerns. I heard that A Train is good to go. Like he got his deal. Like
That's
he's
huge.
gonna, yeah, that is huge. He was one of the better centers in the American in the league, and he's been here long. One thing I do like about this team is like, and we'll probably get to defense tomorrow, but you look at Indiana and they have older guys in, but it is a mix. They do have younger guys on ice, learning. I like the fact that we went and we got a lot of veterans, a lot of the guys. So we have a lot of guys that have a lot of football experience, even if it's not with UAB, we have guys that are older that have played a lot of snaps. A Train is the personification of that. He was there around the last piece of the Clark era. Um, him and Ryder they have a good connection. He's the centerpiece of it all. So getting him, investing in a center that's not only knowledgeable and experienced, but actually can play. That is actually good. And we were able to hold him down. Last time we had that, he got poached. He went to Virginia, but it was good on him. He went and got a bag, right? He went and got some money. Um, and he deserved it. He had been in UAB for 4 years. Like, come on. But A Train is sticking it out. This will be his last year. And I'm happy that we have him there. Um, we can talk about some of the exits. Every time I'm seeing Jimmy look down, I'm like, ooh.
Well, I see like Simpkins just put on Instagram like his committed graphic. I'm like, bro, you already signed. This is like the opposite. You commit first, then you sign. I think it's the agency that's like the agency that represents some of these guys. I think it's I don't know if it's the same agency. I'm looking at the logo here. It might be different ones, but it's like some of the agencies I think are like dropping like graphics today, like showcasing like their guys and like where they signed or whatever. But I saw like this graphic of like committed with UAB and Protective and Blaze in the background. Like, oh, we've already talked about him.
Hey, we're excited to have him,
Yeah.
But I know some of the exits off the top of my head would be Brandon Snay, John Darius Morgan graduated, Logan Moore. So those two starting tackles. Caleb Perez, who's currently in the portal, but I heard, there's a chance for to be reunited there. We'll see how they go. I haven't seen anything official from either side, so maybe not. We'll see. I love you not. Peyton Kirkland. Oh, sorry guys. Here I go. Like this thing
Hey,
is ringing.
tell Coach Mort we said hey. And you got Mason Turok. He was a scholarship player that's transferring now. I think he committed to Garden City Community College, going off the top of my head. So yeah, I think you named all of the offensive linemen that are going out from what I can see. And we have Daniel Mincy, who's no longer with the program, and I would think likely won't be playing with any other programs next year, but you never know. So, um, but I'm impressed with some of the offensive linemen that we picked up. So I'm going to give y'all some of the stuff. Oh, we got Darren come back, so I don't have to freestyle too much. The only player I mentioned, Darren, that Mason Turok was also someone that transferred out. He's going the community college route. But yeah, I'm glad you're back to talk O-line.
and then before everybody gets mad, I know Logan Moore had kind of like an up and down year here. He had some good, he was a guy that came out of high school, developed. He was like tall, skinny. He got bigger, but still needed some development. Shout out to him. The reason I say that because I heard that he got a bag with a capital B going to Baylor. I don't
Mhm.
blame him for taking that. I heard he got a bag. I heard Elon Smalls, defensive tackle, got a bag. So, but all that, I'm staying on offensive line. All that to say, shout out to him. I heard nothing but positive things about him as a kid, and that I'm glad that he got his bag. I see why he was the first commitment for Baylor because I would have committed for that bag too.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, so the guys don't blame him because some of the money that these kids are getting offered is like life changing,
Right.
and they probably won't get a chance in the NFL, but this is their chance to make that money, right?
Yeah.
Guaranteed. So I don't blame him at all. I think that starting off at tackle, we know Brandon Snay was a good player too. What I will say about and I'm just talking about the tackle positions in tandem. Um, what I will say is, in my opinion, that Brandon Snade's play over the year waned. And I don't mind talking about these players by name on the free show at all anymore because I'm like, dude, y'all getting paid way more, way more than we're getting paid in a year, right? Y'all are good. Grow up. You know what I'm saying? You can't feel bad if somebody says something that's perceived as negative.
And
This
if
is
you want to
just
go to a P2 school or a P4 school, I mean, you should listen to the way some of those podcasts,
oh
talk about
man,
their guys.
they will rag on you
Hmm.
like they don't care.
Right.
So we're trying to be we are like trying to be respectful. What I can
Hmm.
say is like Brandon Snake started off the year like very dominant. I'm like, oh, we got one of the best tackles in the league. But as time went on, I'm like, does he really care anymore? Because the season went left. Because it just his plays just did not reflect what he did. And to me, I just don't. To me, that shows a guy that's checking out. So that's what I perceived. I think I think Logan Moore will benefit at being at Baylor because I think they would have the correct strength and conditioning, like nutrition program. I think he needs to get bigger, and I think he needs to maintain that weight. And as the season progresses, like
Yeah.
one thing that I do know as a player, when the season started and everything, it's hard to like whatever gains you had, and you especially if you got it struggle with weight, it's hard to keep it. I used to struggle with weight and like during the season, you go into classes, you got practice and tutors and mentors, you got all this stuff going on. It's so hard to focus on that nutrition like you should. And I used to struggle. I would lose 10, 15, 20 pounds. Like, dude, I can't keep this up. I think he'll benefit at Baylor. And I think they'll put him on the right plan. With that being said, it was a couple times like during the season, we was like, dude, over at that right tackle position. Um, and I think I think the biggest indicator was during that Tulsa game, we were missing Moore and we were missing Snay. And it seemed like we didn't skip a beat. And I think it's because of that shows the depth we had, but at the same time, it shows kind of some of the some of the concerns with each player for different reasons. Again, I think Moore is going to really benefit at being in Baylor and being on a specific plan. I think they're going to get the best out of him. Snay, on the other hand, I don't know what situation he needs to be in. I hope he finds what situation. I don't think his situation is. I don't think there's a chance for reuniting here at UAB. I just don't think his goals align with our goals as a program. Um, we brought in Cox, left tackle. What's his first name? I can't think of it.
Keon.
Keon Cox. Um, wait, I'll let you handle this part, Jimmy. We can talk about the incoming guys that we got coming in.
Yeah, Keon Cox, 6'5", 296. He started his career at UCF. We may have talked about this on the Patreon recently, but I remember when he was, announcing like his final schools, coming out of high school when UAB was in the mix and he ended up going to Central Florida. Didn't have a large role with those guys, redshirted like many guys do. But then transferred out to Oregon State and played in 4 games. He did start one game at Tulsa, for Oregon State this past season. So he's got, noticeable snaps and opportunities. So he's someone that I know we'll be excited about. And then also Cooper Young, interior projects, I guess, to be interior offensive lineman. Big guy, 6'5", 309. Has been at West Virginia for a few years. You got that Ryder Burton kind of connection because Burton was there, for a year. So I would imagine that they, know of one another. So that probably helped in his recruitment. And then
Mm-hmm.
Barrett Maddox, who is one that we had many conversations in our internal text thread about, in hopes of getting a guy like him, projects to play tackle, but I guess, might be interchangeable. Maybe could play guard at 6'6", 315. He was at a community college this most recent year, but started out, I want to say it was Vanderbilt. It was either Vanderbilt or Tennessee. I keep getting it mixed, but he started out SEC, went JUCO, signed with FIU, decided not to go to FIU, reopened his recruitment, got an offer from Auburn, like a legit offer. They wanted
We
him,
want him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So we had to beat out UAB, not, just G6, we had to beat out legit SEC offer there. So, and then I know there's there's a freshman Wes Wiggins, who we signed in December. There's the guy that we signed today, Samuel Riddy Jr., converted defensive tackle or defensive lineman that played offense. There's a true freshman that we got a commitment from today from Spain Park, and I love those
Hudson
local
Reed.
connections. Yeah, Hudson. So
And,
there's a
and,
lot of different
and, and
guys.
and from what I'm reading, they said he had offers to like Oregon and all these other places. I'm not. Is that true?
I haven't had time to look up this guy. Like everything's happening too quickly. I did not have a post ready or I did not know his name or his game. But from what I'm reading here, it seems like he is exactly the type of player. Let's say this for a second. Exactly the type of player that UAB football hasn't really gotten many of at a from a Spain Park, a good high school, at a tackle position that's had lots of interest from the state of Alabama. I know that's something that Coach Mortensen didn't have the opportunity to really do based on when he was announced as the head coach. But I
Hmm.
think that that's a little bit of a sign. We're getting way ahead of ourselves here, but that's a little bit of a sign of the type of guys that Coach Mortensen is going to want to fill this roster with for years to come.
Yeah, that's a huge pickup. If we can have that. Only thing about getting those guys out of high school is it's good to get them. We can get them. Yeah, I'm looking at his offer list. Yeah, the dude had a lot of offers. Okay, yeah, he's legit. The only thing about getting him is will we be able to keep him? Now, like let's say he doesn't start. Most likely we got some vets. He won't start this year. He red shirts. Boom. He goes the Delano Townsend route. He's awesome. His redshirt freshman year, he's out of there.
Yeah,
These
2 years.
SEC Big Ten schools are ruthless, dog. They come to UAB. I think UVA, they love us for whatever reason. They're gonna come and be like, "Let me get what you got." I
Yeah.
need him, and we're gonna offer him a bag. So it is what it is. As long as we can get a year or two, and maybe that means that we get a good buyout from that. We can get a good. If you're gonna snatch a chain like that, at least pay us good money so we can go get somebody. But I am excited about that pickup. Keon Cox, good tackle, good looking guy. He was in the mix, like Jimmy said, out of high school. He already put that he's left tackle. you know,
He's already put his stamp on it, man.
he like, hey, I'm the left tackle. I heard that Cooper Young out of West Virginia. I know he's a guy. He dealt with some injuries. He knew Ryder was the connection there. I heard that he's really mean. Like that he likes to be physical. Sounds like a good guard. It sounds like somebody I want to put at guard. Barrett Maddox was the guy that we had to fight over. I think he's going to be our starter at right tackle. Um, I think he's a starter at right tackle. And I think it's an upgrade in the sense that we don't have to get him ready body wise. Like he's experienced, he was sought after. I think he would be perfect as a role grader. Um, and it was the other guy that we just signed. I was just trying to hurry up and look at some of his
Oh,
stuff.
Samuel Riddy.
I like his potential. I know he switched over from D tackle to from defensive line to offensive line. He's 6'6". He has all the tools and he has some practice clips. So I think if they can get him to pop, I know him, knowing Big Matt McCants. Matt probably looked at him and be like, "Man, I see a lot of myself in this kid." Matt was like so raw coming out of high school, but ended up being one of the best offensive linemen UAB ever had, right? So I think he probably looked at some of these tools that really got was like, we aren't going to be able to recruit that unless we develop it. He's already played in the program before. I think I can get the best out of him. So if he pops, I think he's a high ceiling play. If he pops, we might get one of the best tackles in the league. If not, then we got other guys. I know we have two other tackles coming on visits on the 30th.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I think we're saving those spots. So hey, I love Barry Walker. Barry Walker was one of the highest recruited guys we had ever signed at UAB offensive line. I think he'll be a starting guard. Donovan Lawrence, Cade Martin, all those. I heard nothing but good news about it. We have a veteran there, Ryan Gunter. We know he was like a long-term developmental guy, still around. Aiden Platt. I'm just naming these guys. That's how you know we like UAB sickos. Like we name it offensive line 3D.
Hmm.
Off top of our head, off top of the head. So all these type of guys, I think we're in a good spot on the O line. I would love to add, like I said, we already just added two, a true freshman and another out of the portal. I would love to have if Perez come back. I would love to have him back.
Yeah.
I think he would have to recompete for that job because
Hmm.
I don't know. I think we got guys, Jaden Liggin. I think we got guys that's ready to step up and compete and say, I want that job. I know Barry Walker is going to want a job. I know Cooper Young is going to want a job. I know Donovan Lawrence is going to want one. That I think all of the guys that's coming over here out of the portal, the experienced guys, they're going to have their job at tackles. They're going to compete for him. So I don't think he's a shoe in anymore, but I think he'll have a leg up if he does decide to come back because he knows the system. And we'll see what happens on that front. It's just something that was floating in the air, but I'm not sure if it'll happen. Um, it'll be good to have him back because I think we do need, two or three more dependable offensive linemen ready to play. If we get that identity at the offensive line, just thinking big picture with the running backs that we have, and then I know we'll talk about it because this is a long pod, so we won't be able to get defense, and I keep getting called. Um, with the defense that we have the potential to have, if we can run the ball with these backs, play action, find guys in space, hit all of these quick guys on screens, we all of a sudden we take so much pressure off of Ryder. So
Yeah.
much pressure. We develop an identity. It's like the West Coast offense style version of Bill Clark.
Mm.
You know, Bill Clark was, hey, run. Xavier Yabosi is down there somewhere. Throw it up. Tyler Johnston, wobbly pass, it find a way, touchdown, right? There's a Shropshire is down there somewhere. Throw it. We all knew who played what position and what they were going to do. I don't think Mort's style is that. It's not going to be that. What I do think is just looking at this backfield, I'm like, I think we're trying to set up an identity to lean on the run more, to just be able to, when it's 3rd and 1, actually get the first down. When it's 2nd down and 4 from the goal line, we can actually punch it in instead of like, oh, it's a play action sack. We got to score when it's 3rd and 11. I started feeling better when it was 3rd and long to score versus 2nd and short because we couldn't punch it in. We just didn't have that identity. I can't tell you why. We just didn't. I think if we change that, I think we do a lot for Ryder. And I just think we have a chance. I get that's where my optimism on offense come from. I think we have an identity that's forming. We can get the ball out in space to these quick receivers, yak yardage, Bam, run it downhill with Bam, Robinson, Simpkins coming out the backfield, play action. Can you see it, y'all? Y'all starting to see it a little bit. We got Simpkins coming in on 3rd and 7. Oh, it's a screen to Simpkins. It's a 37-yard touchdown. Like I see so much of my identity forming, but it all starts up front on what we're able to do physicality wise. And if we can set that identity, we don't have to be the best pass protecting team because we can play action you, because we can run it down your throat if we want to. And we can get the ball out in space. These guys can get separation. They're not the biggest, but you sit them on cross the routes, they can just separate from you in yak yardage. So we'll see. I just wanted to get that vision in which I think that the offensive scheme is kind of shooting for.
I just want to apologize to Nelson Ramirez because we named everybody other than you. We have not forgotten about you, but how dare you not name Nelson Ramirez, who's here dedicating the last year of his
And
life, the
played.
year
He
before.
played some. He
Yeah,
played.
he played in 2 games this past year and was a
What about
contributor.
Rod Orr? Is he? Will he be
See,
back?
I don't have him on my personal roster. I know that he's on the roster as is all these people that have already left. So I don't know. I don't project him to return. But if he were, who the hell knows with eligibility these days? So, but that would be great if he did. Okay, so we hopped on this podcast and thought about talking about everyone. We don't have time to talk about everybody because the defense deserves its own thing. Like the defense balled out in the transfer portal. We talked about Coach Grantham earlier, so all that still stands. But I think a good game plan for us, as we touched on offense, maybe tomorrow, whenever it is, whenever we can get together, the three of us again. Hell, we can get together later if you want to. I don't care. But let's talk about the defense. But the defense deserves its own show. And maybe we can go out and all get a Michelob Ultra and enjoy a nice Michelob Ultra, while we listen to that. But we hope you guys enjoyed this. I don't know if you guys want to say anything else before we dip.
John, since you started it, you ought to close us out.
The pressure.
Go Blazers.
Go Blazers.